submitted my religious exemption. I was ordered to stay in the office because the Adjutant General was speaking to my unit, and they did not want the embarrassment of having one soldier standing out front without a mask on. After that, I was sent home without pay. I initiated an Inspector General report. They provided the pay eventually. The next summer, I'm a Sergeant First Class, which means when we go on AT, I'm the one that signs to rent vans, things like that. My specialty is in charge of transportation. So I was given orders to do the transportation stuff for everyone else, and I rented the van, but I was not allowed to do transportation orders for myself. Again, I submitted something to the Inspector General. He said, there's no point in you pushing forward, you have no recourse here. Now, during my 24 years in the Army National Guard, I was 5 years with the medical detachment as ADOS. That's a part-time kind of in the wind. You never know if your contract's going to be extended or not, but I did it for 5 years, and I enjoyed my job there, and I learned a lot about the medical procedures for the Army National Guard. And several of those procedures, because the medical detachment gives the inoculations, they give the flu shot every year, they give the MMR, all of those, and I was in charge of medical records. So I had to write down everything that was taken care of. Then when soldiers retired or moved on, made sure those records went with them. And there are so many regulations that were in place before 2020 that we had to adhere to before even giving the most simple flu shot that were thrown out. When that MMR injection, and it's not a vaccination according to military regulations, they had to change the wording because it does not include any parts of a virus, it does not include a dead part of the virus, and it does not include a weakened part of the virus, which were the 3 standards for it actually being a vaccine. They changed that. When they provided the shots to the soldiers, required them of the soldiers, they also violated regulations that they did not give the informational handout that is supposed to accompany every single vaccine you give to soldiers. So the soldiers could not look to see what is being stuck in their arm, how it was produced, how it was tested, or if there was any testing. The longer list can go on and on for the number of violations of Army regulations in the medical handbook, and also just the general regulations for religious exemptions, following actual support of soldiers by the commanders. And I could have had a handout, but I don't think there's a point to that. The point I'm trying to press to you is there was no recourse. The Inspector General would do nothing, and then after I found the medical violations, I tried to submit something to the Judge Advocate General, which would have initiated a court-martial, except for the fact that the lawyer representing the Judge Advocate General said, well, they're Title 32, so we can't court-martial M-Day soldiers. So the state surgeon, the deputy state surgeon, who are the ones that are pushing forth the memos, they are free and clear. There are no recourses for the soldiers in that vein either. So no Inspector General, no Judge Advocate, so I called up several local lawyers. Can I sue them on the civilian side to stop being treated this way as a soldier? Just let me do my job, let's follow the science and move on. And the lawyer said, you can't sue them either because you have not been denied yet. The slow walk, although keeping us from being kicked out, also took away the third and final choice for soldiers to actually try and get somewhere. It's kind of a two-edged sword. I appreciate the slow walk, but at the same time, this is all we have left. What you guys can do right here for the soldiers and the airmen, because we have nothing else except to say goodbye to our careers and possibly receive a less than honorable discharge through it. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your service. Questions, Senator Ringgold?
Thank you, Mr. Kircher. So, it sounds like this was an incredibly frustrating journey that you went on. But I did hear you say that, you reached out to civil attorneys to see if you could sue. So, I guess if they go through, the military goes through that third and final step of actually denying you officially, does that open the floodgate for a potential lawsuit, or?
It does not. After it's denied the first time, you have to go through the appeals process. And the current timeline on our current, as Mark Freehoff said, digitally somewhere in the Pentagon, is about another year and a half. And then if we submit an appeals, that could be another 2 to 3 years before that would be denied and we could look for a civil lawsuit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Halloran.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Sorry for you, I'm sorry for all you folks that had to go through this. I think it's egregious. Don't know that there's anything this bill or anything else can do to make up for that. Quick question, would you encourage anyone to enlist?
Under the current administration and atmosphere of the military, I would not. And I am a teacher in my civilian capacity and get to talk to a lot of students in various schools. I also do a lot of history work, reenactment, and when they ask me, I tell them the truth. It is a very difficult job right now that is being made difficult not because of what the job we have to do, but what's on the outside being expected of us. So I truly love my job, the Army National Guard. I mean, the band is kind of a special type of unit, and we get to do a lot of travel and see more of Nebraska than any other unit. Last summer, we were in Chadron and around that area, summers before that, all over the state. It's an amazing job, and I don't want to give it up over something so silly as this shot.